Hooking you in fast. What if space travel isn't just about rockets and habitats, but about whether we can even spur mission through the final frontier? Let's unpack why microgravity could flip the script on human reproduction in space, and why that matters beyond sci-fi vibes. Picture this: in a lab, sperm are placed in a device that cancels gravity, so they drift and tumble like astronauts tumbling through a zero-G film scene. My take? This isn't just a curiosity, it's a window into how fragile the first steps of life might be when gravity isn't pulling the same way it does on Earth. From my perspective, the core idea is simple but powerful. Navigation through the female reproductive tract depends on cues we barely notice until gravity is gone. And if you remove gravity, you remove a lot of the physical guidance that sperm rely on to reach the egg. First big idea: microgravity disrupts sperm's sense of up and down, making them wander. What this really suggests is that directionality, how life initiates itself, depends on a constant frame of reference. What makes this interesting is that the same nutrient signals and chemical signals are still trying to guide the sperm, but the absence of gravity scrambles spatial awareness. In my opinion, this points to a broader truth: biology often leans on physics as a hidden co-author. If you take a step back and think about it, the implication isn't that reproduction is doomed in space, but that it will require new mechanisms or external cues to compensate for the altered environment. A detail I find fascinating is that adding progesterone helps some sperm regain orientation, hinting that the eggs themselves might still steer the process under microgravity. This raises a deeper question: could we design space-compatible reproductive strategies that mimic Earth-like cues to ensure successful fertilization? Second idea: different species react differently. Human, pig, and mouse samples all showed how gravity shifts affect early development, but the magnitude and specifics vary. What this really suggests is that there isn't a one-size-fits-all rule for life's first steps in space. From my perspective, this matters because any plan for human habitation beyond Earth will have to account for interspecies variability when thinking about food systems, animal breeding for food supplies, and even medical research models. One thing that immediately stands out is that embryos still form despite disorientation, so the fundamental potential for reproduction may exist, but with caveats. If you zoom out, this aligns with the bigger trend: space will press biology to adapt, and science will need to craft tailored environmental knobs to guide outcomes rather than rely on Earth-like defaults. Third idea: real-world relevance, how we'll live and thrive off Earth. The researchers emphasize a long-term arc, not just to breed in space, but to sustain settlements on the Moon or Mars where gravity is weaker and radiation is harsher. From my vantage point, the crucial takeaway is that understanding microgravity isn't a novelty, it's a prerequisite for resilient space ecosystems. A detail I find compelling is that progesterone and other guidance cues could become part of a reproductive toolkit for space colonies. What many people don't realize is that this research also informs terrestrial medicine. Our embryo's sensitivity to gravity and flow could reveal hidden aspects of human fertility on Earth that we previously glossed over. This connects to a bigger trend: as we push outward, we inevitably bring back earthbound insights that improve life here. Deeper insight: the ethical and logistical layers cannot be ignored. The study notes that eggs were not used with humans due to ethical concerns, and this mirrors broader debates about how far we go in experimenting with human reproduction in extreme environments. If you step back and think about it, there's a tension between curiosity and responsibility, knowing that we'll likely aim for multi-planetary living while needing robust governance, safety nets, and clear international collaboration. From my point of view, this work strengthens the case for global scientists, policymakers, and ethicists to co-design frameworks before habitats become commonplace. Closing thought: space is not just a frontier of engineering, it's a frontier of biology and ethics intertwined. What this really suggests is that the path to space living will be as much about guiding life's beginnings as about building habitats, life support, and transport. If we want sustainable off-Earth civilizations, we'll need to map how gravity, radiation, and orbital physics shape reproduction, and then invent practical solutions that work in those conditions. As we move toward Moon and Mars settlements, the big question remains: can we design reproductive processes that are robust to environmental drift, or will we redefine what natural reproduction means in space? Share your take: should space agencies prioritize reproductive science as a core pillar of long-term colonization, or treat it as a parallel field that runs alongside habitat engineering?